Check, check, check. Ready? Thumbs up. Forums ready? I'm the boss tonight, eh? Ready? Hello. Can everybody hear me? Yeah? Can everybody hear me? We're going to get the night started. We have lots of questions. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's mayoral forum hosted by the Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm Nyla Frank Rogers, and I'm the executive director of the chamber. And I'm thrilled to see so many of you joining tonight, both in person and virtually, and it will be recorded. So if anyone's not in attendance that would like to view it, that's available. I'd like to offer a special welcome to our distinguished mayoral candidates joining us here in the room this evening. We deeply appreciate your time and willingness to share your vision for the future of our community. This forum is important part of ensuring that our residents and business leaders have the opportunity to engage directly with those who may soon be leading our municipality. The Annapolis Valley Chamber of Commerce is proud to serve as a vital link between local businesses, government, and the community. For those of you who may not be familiar with us and our work, the Chamber is dedicated to supporting a thriving business environment, advocating for policies that promote economic growth, and providing opportunities for meaningful civic engagement, just like this event tonight. We believed that informed voters lead to a stronger, more vibrant community, and that's why we've organized this forum. It's an opportunity for all of us to hear firsthand from the candidates about the issues that matter most to local businesses, residents alike, and from economic development to infrastructure, public safety, and quality of life. We're looking forward to a good conversation tonight. Before we get started, I would like to take a moment to recognize our incredible sponsor, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, and Chamber Champion supporters, Michelin, Eden Valley Poultry, the Ritzy Team Scotia Wealth Management, Wines of Nova Scotia, and Atlantic Poultry, Blue Cow Marketing for allowing us to record and live stream the event tonight, and the Coldbrook and District Lions Hall for hosting us here this evening. Without your generous contributions, the events like this would not be possible. Your ongoing support to the Chamber's mission is invaluable, and we truly are grateful for your community championship and partnership. I'm honored tonight to welcome tonight's moderator, Sue McDougall, just right over there. And Sue will be guiding us through the evening's discussion, ensuring a fair and insightful conversation on the issues that matter most to our community. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to an informative and engaging evening.
Good evening, everyone. It is my can you hear me okay at the back? It's my absolute pleasure to be here this evening with you and to be up here with these four candidates who we certainly appreciate your time and look forward to your insights and the conversation that we're going to have tonight. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Our candidates are going to have an opportunity to formally introduce themselves, but I did want to let you know we have, of course, Martha Armstrong, Dave Corkum, Madonna Spinazzola, and Pauline Raven. And I'm sure they are going to impart with us their wisdom and thoughts about many things that are of mind, and probably, I would think, of your mind as well as we head into the municipal elections next month. Earlier, we drew for speaking orders, so our order will begin this evening with Martha, followed by Pauline, Madonna, and Dave. And what we will do with each question is we will rotate. So number one will start, and then on the second question we'll move on, and the next person in the speaking order will begin the responses. Just a little bit about our format for this evening. So there will be opening statements to start with, so each candidate will have 3 minutes. Nyla will be doing the timing, so she'll be the signal person to give you that little update when you're getting close to your time. Each candidate, as I said, will have the 3 minutes to introduce themselves and comment on any issues of concerns in particular that they may have. We will have host questions. So one business-related question put forward by the Chamber of Commerce and one housing-related question from the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. Afterwards, we will continue with additional questions that have been submitted either here this evening or online. Lots of questions. Obviously, we won't have the opportunity to get to all of those, but we have looked at them, and I think a lot of them, there are some similarities. So if you don't hear your specific question answered or asked this evening, we hope to get at least to the general theme of it through other questions that we do have in front of us. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the questions. And at the end, shortly after 8, probably about 8:10, I will provide the candidates with 3 minutes each for their closing remarks. Just a little bit about conduct and decorum. I know that Nyla had already kind of mentioned this, but just as a reminder to not only our candidates up here, but also those of us in the room tonight, that this will be a friendly, courteous, and respectful conversation, and we look forward to that, and most certainly don't expect anything to the contrary. So we look forward to it. There won't be any interruptions, and we would also ask that the audience will sit and listen, and there won't be any comments or questions coming live from the audience. Okay. Just a little bit about media and recording. So we do have press access. Coverage is allowed, but it will not interfere with the event. There are to be no cameras, video, or audio taping except by pre-approved press through the chamber. Social media. So live tweeting and posting on social media during the event is allowed under respectful conditions. And any campaign literature will be available at the end of the debate and not during, okay? So thank you very much for that. And you know what? My job is an easy one. It's to ask questions and to keep us on track. I don't anticipate there will be a need for anything other than that. So I think with that, we're going to get started. So let me get our first question here. We're going to start with Martha. And I'm going to give you your 3 minutes to share with us a little bit about who you are and what's important to you in this election.
I always love going first. A little bit about myself, I guess. I moved here in 1972. I'm the daughter of a military member. Married my husband, Watson Armstrong, and we moved to Kingston in 1991. I shouldn't need notes on this. It's my life. But anyway, we have 3 children. My oldest is an advanced care paramedic working out of Halifax. My daughter is an RCMP detachment assistant. And my youngest is works with the VON. I have 3 grandchildren, the light of my life, ages 11, 7, and 3. My husband, Watson, was a firefighter with the Kingston Fire Department for 46 years. He was the chief for 22. I'm aging him. We were very much involved in the fire department. My son was a deputy chief. My son-in-law was a captain. My daughter was a lieutenant, and my daughter-in-law was a firefighter. For me, I worked in the service industry and retail for a while, and then I joined the family business and worked as the office manager for 26 years. And so I'm familiar with the construction trades, subcontractors, tenders, change orders, all of that, as well as finance. I know a debit from a credit. I was elected to the Kingston Village Commission in 2009, and I served there for 7 years, the last 3 as the chair. And I think that villages are a jewel in the crown of Kings County, all 7 of them. While I was on council for the last 8 years, I've been the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee, the chair of the Nominating Committee, and the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. I was also the chair of the Valley Waste for 18 months. And I have in the past year been nominated by my fellow councillors to serve as mayor when our mayor suffered an accident and the deputy mayor was unavailable. So I have chaired council meetings, public hearings, and committee of the whole. I think that Kings County is one of the best places to live. I want it to continue to be a great place to live for my children and hopefully for my grandchildren, that they will still be here when I'm long gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martha. And Pauline, we're going to hand it over to you.
This is on. I'm going to keep my comments to municipal matters mostly, but I would like to thank my husband of almost 50 years, my son and my daughter-in-law for all of their support as I moved into this venture of seeking to be your mayor. And I'd also like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity. It's great to be here with you all tonight. For the past 16 years, 8 of which I served on council, I've been actively involved in the largest municipal world in Nova Scotia, third largest municipal world in Nova Scotia. We're more complex than a town. We've got 12 urban areas and large mixed use and agricultural zones. At your doorsteps, through Facebook and email, I've been hearing many things, and they kind of fall into common concerns. So let's start with the deed transfer tax. The tax that seems to be dreaded by those trying to buy a home for the first time. The tax that seems to be dreaded by home builders trying to keep new homes at an affordable price range. A second big issue I've been hearing about is land use. Few are happy with the recent decisions made through the application of the new land use bylaw. In the mixed use agricultural zone, there's been angry disagreement, community division, and costly court cases. In residential zones, for example, Canning, residents have been surprised and angered by the density permitted through the development application. A third concern is also related to land use, but is something that applies much more broadly. It is the poor application of community engagement. People think results of consultations and public hearings are not reflected in the recommendations that end up in staff reports. Too often, people believe their concerns are simply ignored. Their considerable local knowledge is discounted, ultimately that they are not heard. A fourth concern is the rise in property taxes. During a time when families are feeling pinched or even punched by how expensive essentials are, like food and gas, home heating, and rent, homeowners and landlords have been floored by the arrival of property tax bills that have increased drastically. They know property assessments are way up, and they also know that tax revenues are way up because of that. People are asking where the money went and why council did not have their back. In fact, tax revenues have increased over $12 million since 2021. A small portion, $500,000, was used in tax relief, but only for low-income households. So 12 million in, only $500,000 of relief. No happy medium was sought by council to provide a more general tax relief through the application of a lower tax rate. People have not been happy about this as I've met them at the door. Lastly, there is the overarching concern brought to us by the growing climate threats already being experienced in Kings County: storms, wildfires, floods, and what we're going to need to do this. And I'll stop for there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much. Madonna, over to you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the Chamber and all the volunteers who helped organize this event. To my fellow candidates, thank you for participating, and to a special shout out to those at home who are watching us. I hope you have a great evening and you're totally relaxed. My name is Madonna Spinazzola, and I live in Kings County with my husband, Dick Killam. Together, we have 4 children and 7 grandchildren. The light of my life. I think grandchildren are the best. For over 25 years, we've both served on municipal council, and we've been very busy working with council and working with communities. Like the community of Meadowview, for example, we worked with them to get the landfill site closed, to make sure that they had installed good, clean, safe drinking water, and also provided for a fund for them to help their communities. In Steam Mill and Meadowview, we were in District 3. In Steam Mill and Steam Mill and Centerville, we helped with council and with the residents as well. We helped them to get land for the Centerville Park. We helped, I was one of the leaders along with the Kings County Economic Development Authority to help them form the Centerville and District Community Development Association, and also the Centerville and District Planning Advisory Committee. Those were big on my agenda at that time. And sidewalks, and then we move on to Halls Harbor, and we've been fighting Mother Nature and climate change there forever. We've done lots of work to raise funds to look at climate mitigation. It's a long list. We've always focused on what is in the best interest of Kings County. And I believe our track record speaks for itself. My dedication to this region is very personal. It's built on a long history of commitment and a long history of service. And trust me, after all these years, I'm not stopping now. I'm ready to move Kings County, with your help, forward with a strong leadership, experience, and collaboration style. My vision is simple. We need a county that says yes. Yes to growth, yes to preserving and protecting agricultural land, yes to new business, yes to ensuring that our volunteers all have the resources that they need to do the job that they do so well in Kings County. And setting policies is high on my book to ensure that every single family in Kings County has a safe home. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dave.
Thank you all for taking the time to be here with me today. I was born in Berwick. I've lived in several communities throughout Kings County all of my life. As a youth, I worked on farms, and later in life, I did residential appraisals throughout Kings County. As you know, the role of the mayor is pivotal in guiding council through decision-making processes. It is essential for the mayor to foster an environment of fair debate, informed by input from staff, the public, and subject matter experts. My background includes serving on various committees during my time on town council, including the Fire Committee, Economic Development Committee, and the Vice Chair of the Police Commission. I also served as Chair of the Planning Committee, the Public Works Committee, and the Recreation Committee. I served 4 years as Deputy Mayor, and I spent 11 years as Mayor. My experience has provided me with a deep understanding of Kings County through partnerships with organizations such as Valley Waste, Valley Regional Enterprise Network, the Kings Transit. Having lived in multiple communities throughout our beautiful county, I have a comprehensive perspective of our diverse needs. During my tenure as mayor, I successfully negotiated with 2 premiers and 4 ministers of transportation to secure funding for a new bridge. I collaborated with the school board and the Minister of Education to establish a new school, worked alongside the Warden of Kings County to create a new joint library for our community. Additionally, I served as president of the Union of Nova Scotia Municipalities, where I negotiated infrastructure funding directly with the Prime Minister for municipalities across Nova Scotia. I was honored to receive recognition from Ducks Unlimited for my contribution to the development of Miners Marsh. My appointment to the One Nova Scotia Committee to implement the Ivany Report was a significant milestone. I was proud to receive the Queen Elizabeth II Award for my municipal involvement. I've successfully completed courses in committee management, parliamentary procedure, real estate appraisal courses, and I'm a Dale Carnegie graduate. I am honored to present my candidacy for mayor, and I believe I offer a distinctive perspective based on a wealth of knowledge and experience that sets me apart. My volunteer efforts include I was a regular at the Kinsman Christmas Miracle, active with Special Olympics when called upon, coached minor baseball for 15 years, managed minor hockey teams. I was the first president of the Kentville Ringette Association. I was president of the JCs. I was an honorary Lion for my work with the Lions Club. During my tenure as mayor of Kentville, I was an honorary Rotarian, and I ran the Outstanding Young Farmer program for Atlantic Canada for 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. So just a reminder, we are in that 2-minute thing. So thank you, Nyla. Everybody's, we're shifting now. So our first question is coming from the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. And we're going to start with Pauline. So the question is, deed transfer tax provides additional income to municipalities. However, for many Nova Scotians, it can be an expensive addition to home buying costs, especially for first-time home buyers. Realtors have advocated to waive the tax for first-time buyers or extend the payment period over 5 years to help provide tax relief to home buyers. If elected, would you be in favor of this tax relief for buyers? Why or why not? Pauline.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. The work the Nova Scotia Realtors Association does to increase housing supply is very significant. And one of the things that they have been advocating very heavily for is work on the deed transfer tax. I will say that Kings County is now the only municipality in the province without its own deed transfer tax. Yes, we could decide to waive it completely for first-time home buyers, as the realtors have suggested, or we could offer a 5-year payment plan to take a bit of a bite out of the punch that these deed transfer taxes are. However, those measures just shift the burden to other home buyers. And I am not in favor of following the lead of all the other towns and counties in Nova Scotia are using their behavior as a justification for gathering new taxes ourselves. I think the issue is deeper than that. As I see it, the real issue impacting affordability is housing supply. Carpenters like my own husband are retiring, and young people need to be apprenticed into the construction workforce in much greater numbers, and I'm really happy to see the province's work on that. But at the municipal level, any unnecessary red tape that creates a barrier to housing starts needs to be removed. For example, there are regulations to build multi-unit apartment buildings in urban zones that can be established as of right. High standards to integrate these denser communities into existing communities can be built in. In this way, the lengthy, burdensome application process for development agreements could be bypassed. Our municipality could also bring training opportunities to the county to certify new building inspectors. That would speed up inspection timelines. Last but not least, our municipality can learn from nonprofit organizations and other municipalities who've been successful innovators. We need to ensure that every person in Kings County has a safe home, and sometimes this is as easy as copying the successes of others. And I do understand what the Nova Scotia Realtors are trying to do with their adjustments that they hope that all municipalities will do to the deed transfer tax, but we don't have one.
Thank you.
And I think we can keep it that way.
Thanks so much. And I will just say, if anyone at any point needs me to repeat the question, don't hesitate to ask. All right, we are going to move on to Madonna.
Same question?
Same question.
Okay. I do not support the current motion put forth by Kings County Council, nor do I agree with the rationale behind it. My stance is that the deed transfer tax requires evaluation to ensure it is fair and balanced, especially how it affects new homeowners. While it may be an important revenue source for the municipality, we carefully need to consider the impact it will have on housing affordability, particularly with the prices as high as they are today. I'm not convinced that there's a compelling reason for Kings County to introduce a deed transfer tax. Before we do anything of that sort, I believe we should look at the broader discussions. I would initiate discussions with municipal staff, councillors, and other municipalities to form a recommendation that could be brought to the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities. One of these questions would explore, why is it the province of Nova Scotia charges a 5% deed transfer tax to new people coming in to live in Nova Scotia? Should that be shared with municipalities? Maybe 2.5% shared amongst the municipalities? And maybe, just maybe, if we foster this open dialogue, we can put this, I've been around a while, and this has been on the table for more than 30 years. Let's resolve the issue and get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dave, gonna hand it over to you, please.
Thank you. I am absolutely against any deed transfer tax. In fact, I'm not in favor of any tax increases and want to look at lowering taxes where possible. The deed transfer tax is a regressive tax. It's a tax that discourages people from buying in this area. Kings County has a distinct advantage by not having a deed transfer tax. It's very costly when someone purchases a new home. My brother just bought a new home and found out the last minute he was paying $3,000 or $4,000 for a deed transfer tax, which was added to the bill. You know, years ago, a lot of people used to smoke. Just because everybody smoked, it didn't mean it was good for you. Deed transfer tax, just because everybody else has got it, doesn't mean it's good for Kings County. I believe that we should not have this tax, and I think we'd be much better off without it and be the one county in Nova Scotia to say, we don't have deed transfer tax. I think you'll attract more people, and that's the way we will be able to keep your taxes down or maybe even lower your taxes by new development and new buyers come to our area. We don't want to put anything in place that's going to be a detriment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Martha, we'll hand it over to you to wrap up this question, please.
Since I'm the only counselor that was actually at the table when the deed transfer tax came forward, I can tell you that it came forward to us as a way of funding a regional recreation facility. And we, as I said in council, and you can watch this on YouTube, I'm not in favor of a regional recreation facility. And I felt that we were putting the cart before the horse because we don't know where it's going. We don't know how much it costs. We don't know if we have partners. We don't know if we have any federal or provincial monies to help us build it. We don't know how much it's going to cost to maintain it. I'm not in favor of it, and therefore I'm not in favor of a deed transfer tax because it was the only thing it was being brought forward to fund. So until those questions can be answered about a regional recreation facility, then the deed transfer tax to me is a moot point. The motion was tabled and it's going to be brought back in front of the new council. It will be one that will be for them to make a decision on. And I hope that they will take into consideration all of these things as far as a regional recreation facility goes. So that's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next question, and Madonna, you will be the first responder, is a question that comes to us through the Annapolis Valley Chamber. Many of our member businesses have expressed concerns about the challenges of navigating municipal red tape when it comes to business development and expansion. If elected, how will you prioritize streamlining regulations and improving processes to support local businesses in their growth and development? What specific steps will you take to make the municipality more business friendly? Madonna.
Thank you for that question. To think about this for a moment. The first thing I think I would do is I would like to meet with the staff in the planning department and meet and talk to them about how they see doing things differently. Remember that the reason for all the red tape is based on policies. Policies are made by councillors. Staff follow the policies. So let's go I'm going to go backwards on that one. I'm going to go to the staff and say, we've had a lot of issues with people having to go through a lot of red tape, moving to another municipality because they just can't get what they want to get done here. In your opinion, let's take off the hats, let's take away all the policies. What would you do to make it easier? There are ways to do them, and I don't have all the answers to the ways to do them. So I really think that is a big issue. That's an issue that I've heard on the doorsteps time and time again. That we're the county of no, and that's where I mean the county of yes. Let's look at what's wrong and let's determine how we're going to do it. I can't do it myself. We go back to communication, community, and collaboration. Those are my three C's all the way through this. And one of the things I plan to do to help that is I've been working on an ambassador team. That means having a communication, a connector in each and every community. You know, there's over 50 communities in Kings County. There's over 50 communities. For me as a mayor or for 9 councillors to know everything that's going on in those communities is not realistic, really. The team of ambassadors will be a connector that will help the municipalities, the planning department, and councillors and the mayor know what's happening in their community. And who else would know more than they would? Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And Dave, we're going to come over to you.
Thank you very much. The method I would use is I would sit down with all the counselors because they do make the policies, and that's the reason why the policies are in place. I think we need a complete attitude change in this county, and if all the counselors or a majority of them agreed with that, we would have to look at trying to change the staff's attitude from the can-do county from the can't. And I believe that working with the council to change that attitude and change the policies is what you would need to do. And from there, you need to do that from the top down. So right from the start, if council's in agreement, you would bring the CAO in. He manages the county and say, look, we need a change in attitude to work with the business community and the builders and the developers to make things easier for them to build and construct in our county. That kind of development will increase your taxes base without having to increase taxes. And that's how I would look at it. But you need council on side. The mayor can't do it. The mayor isn't necessarily have to be an expert. They have to be a jack of all trades and work with the council. And if you can't work with the council, then you're shot before you start. So that would be my approach. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Martha, over to you.
I appreciate the question. I'm a little lost because I'm not sure if the people that are having the issue are having the same issue, or if they all have something different that they are having a problem with. So I'd like to think that they would come to their counselors and have a conversation with them. Council can then deal with the staff and determine if there's some place that we can work with them to get done what they want to get done. I think that there's always a way to work with people if everyone's prepared to sit down and have a conversation. If you're just going to take a no and walk away, then there's not much we can do about that. But if you're prepared to sit down and talk with us, talk with your counselors, talk with your mayor, talk with the staff, then I think that we can come to a resolution that will work for all. And if it's something that is across the board an issue and policies needs to be changed, then we will change them. We will make that happen. But if we don't know what the problem is, we can't fix it. So we need to hear from these people. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think the first people that you need to sit down with and talk to are the business people that are having the issues. That's how you would find out, as Martha says, what are the problems? Are there particular things that particular businesses are finding troublesome? Is it about doing an expansion in terms of a building expansion, and then it falls under the planning policies? Martha is absolutely right. We need to find out what the problem is. I do think that in our municipality, many people going in to try to find out what they can or they cannot do come away feeling like they've had lots of long conversations about what they cannot do, and not so many conversations about what they can. So it is about a shift in the role of the service provider. As a service provider at the municipality of the County of Kings, it's not that you're suddenly going to be saying yes to everything. Sometimes it's about the way you say it. Sometimes it's about giving tips on how that person can come back in and be more successful. Some policies are very important policies. Not everything can be changed. Some things can, and they should be. But most of all, I think we need to have an attitude to service that acknowledges that the tax revenues that we get, whether it's from businesses or whether it's from residents, is there to serve the people of this county and to serve them well. We can change policies, we can work it out, but we need to start our chats with who it is that is having the problems with the county. And there are also organizations that we can talk to that represent those business owners, and that is the chamber, the realtors. We can get to the bottom of this, and with council's guidance to the CAO, we can make those changes among staff members that need to be made.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to get on to our next question, and Dave, you will be responding first. And the question is, in your opinion, what role should the municipal government play in addressing housing needs, and how will you collaborate with other levels of government and community organizations to ensure long-term solutions?
Well, I think the role in the municipal government has to be collaboration with your provincial partners, and we're very fortunate because we happen to have the minister in charge of it right here in our own riding. So he's very easy to contact him. But I will caution you, you have to be very, very careful. The provincial government would love to see the County of Kings take over housing. It's a big expense, folks. And so it's a situation that you have to work with the provincial government, and whatever we can do as a council and a county to help those that are in need. But you do not want to take over the responsibility away from the provincial government, because they'd love to pass it on to you. But in many ways, we can help them, collaborate with them, find out what is needed, and maybe help make some areas where the red tape can be cut through, so that things can be constructed where need to be for housing. Certainly, it's very, very important issue that we all need to do to work on together. But not forget who should be paying for it, and that's the provincial government. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Martha, please.
Thank you. The municipality of the County of Kings, our mandate as far as housing goes is to accommodate the building of affordable housing. And I say affordable because we have a lot of that's unaffordable. And by using our land use bylaws, changing them where we need to change them to permit densification of housing units in areas where we have sewer, we have water, we have transit. It makes it easier for the people that are going to live in these housing units to be available for work and to be able to do things by bus or by walking. So last year, the municipality received $9.1 million from the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund to expedite the approval process and fast-track construction of homes. Right now, there is a a development going on in New Minas being done by the Valley Roots Housing Association, and they are building 24 affordable housing units on a piece of land that was given to them by the province. Kings County did put some money into it, not a lot, but we did put some in. But this 9.1 million is an opportunity for us to help other nonprofits to build affordable housing. So, and if we need to put in sewer and water to accommodate those, that's another way that we can use that 9.1 million without having to use your tax dollars. So for the year, the other thing that we've been doing in this council is for the last 2 years, we've been in negotiations with 14 Wing Greenwood to have them divest a piece of property that used to have permanent married quarters on them. There's 140 acres sitting in Greenwood that is unused and could be used for housing. And we have been doing our very best to convince D&D and 14 Wing Greenwood to divest that land so that we could open it up for development. So that's
Thank
another avenue that we're looking at right now.
Thank you. Pauline, over to you.
Thank you. I think one of the things that we could do is to reach back into our new LUB, our land use bylaw, and specifically address the issue of affordable homes. That might mean that we look at how people can build small homes. It might mean that we looking at much smaller lots. Affordability does have to do with the amount of materials that you have to put in and the amount of land that you have to purchase. So we could do better, I think. We have done a lot around density in all 12 of our urban zones, our villages and our growth centers, but I think there's more to do. And whenever that land use bylaw was drafted, it was pre-COVID. It was passed in November of 2019, I think, Martha, you and I were both there. And boom, what happened in January? COVID. We were locked down. We didn't get to speak to people. A lot of things was not going on. It slowed down everything. And I think that we do need to really do some new policy work around the affordable home issue. I also think that we don't want to take responsibility over, as Dave has pointed out. We do not have a lot of sources of revenue. We really are dependent on our residential and commercial tax rates and some things that come down from the provincial and federal government to help balance our budgets. We don't want to take it over, but we do want to get much more invested in it. We're hearing from people much more so than the provincial people are. We have 9 councillors in the municipality of the County of Kings, and we have 3 MLAs and half an MP. So who knows the most? Who's talking to people? Who has the solutions? We do, and we just need to get to work on it.
Thank you. And Madonna, I'll get you to wrap this question up.
Thank you. I think perhaps many of you know a lot of my qualifications and the work I've done in the past is on my website. It's simply my name, madonnaspinazzola.ca. I haven't gone into all that, but housing is my baby. I was involved in housing in the 80s. I worked for Kings County Housing on a social housing program called Section 40. I interviewed in 1 year, 200 families, approved 40 for housing, set out the tenders, set out the looking for homes, had them built, had them all done. Within 1 year, I did 40 houses with my team at Kings County Housing. That is a Canadian record. It was never heard of before. And how that was done was through collaboration, which is extremely important, to educating and working. Back in the 80s, I'm hearing the same discussions today that I heard back in the 80s about housing in Kings County. It's everybody's responsibility, whether you're in municipal, provincial, or federal. When Canada Mortgage and Housing, we need to get them back involved in housing. In whatever that year was, 2019, 2020, when the new land use bylaw was passed, they cut out the pre-1994 lots. Just cut them out. Said, oh, these are people who had pieces of land, were paying residential taxes on. Finally, when they came home to try to build a place, they said, no, you can't build. We've changed the rules. So there's 1,500 lots right there for housing. All we need to do is ensure that they're not infringing on farmland and agricultural. We need to look at the soils in Kings County, readdress the soils in Kings County to make sure that this whole branch that's been painted A1 or A2, maybe there's pockets in there that are not good to grow on. I'm not talking about ad hoc planning. I'm talking about very serious planning with today's crisis in mind
Thank
and
you.
looking at today's needs. Today's needs, even 4 years, is a heck of a lot more than they were in 2019.
Thank
Heck of a
you.
lot more than they were in 2008.
Thank you. Okay, and our next question, and we're coming full circle. So Martha, we're going to start with you again. Our next question is, let me get it straight here. Okay, what are the top climate resilience actions we should be taking in the municipality of Kings over the next 3 years to reduce our carbon emissions, reduce our resilience on our reliance, on fossil fuels, and to help protect biodiversity?
The municipality right now is working on a solar farm on the old brownfield at Meadowview in collaboration with a couple of partners. We're hoping that we will be selling that power back into the grid. We have also in our land use bylaw that Pauline has mentioned a couple of times that was brought in 2019, we set aside a portion of land on the South Mountain, Southwest Kings County for a large scale wind farm. And the only reason that we're probably not farther ahead on that is because we've been running into issues with the radar at 14 Wing Greenwood. But those are two things that that are on our docket to try and mitigate climate change. Kings County has a county building that is 85% green. We have a public works building that is 100% net zero. We have solar panels on the roof, which we sell power back into the grid. So we're doing everything that we can, and I think that we need to continue to do that on our public buildings. Sewer treatment plants can be turned net zero. We're buying vehicles now that are electric. We're putting in charging stations, and anything that we can do and we have the capacity to do, we will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline, over to you.
Would you repeat the question?
My pleasure. What are the top climate resilience actions we should be taking in the municipality over the next 3 years to reduce our carbon emissions, reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, and help protect biodiversity?
There are many things that happen in the County of Kings that we don't have to spend money on, that do make us more resilient to what is happening with climate. I think we really do need to protect our forests, our waterways, our marshlands. We need to start working on that Coastal Protection Act that was supposed to be a provincial protection act and was dropped, summarily dropped by our own provincial government. We have many rivers. We're surrounded by ocean, almost, all but that little bit. And we do see that things are eroding and our land is shrinking. We do know that forestry in this county is often done by offshore companies or big companies. We've seen just in this last month many, many permits issued for our forests to be aerial spread. That completely destroys the biodiversity of our landscapes. Trees are one of the best ways for us to sink carbon. Marshes are one of the best ways for us to sink carbon. And when we had Scott Quinn at our municipality as an engineer, that was something that he was really interested in, looking at how we could do more in that way to sequester carbon. We haven't done much since. I do think Martha is right. We're doing lots. We lobbied hard to have that building be totally net zero when it came to Coldbrook, and we almost made it. The new building, I think, for Public Works is net zero, right, Martha? We've also added at the municipality lots of solar panels on the roof, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say kudos to the Kings County for what they're doing. And I sure hope to see that solar farm open soon, because Meadowview Community Development Association, with my assistance
Thank
and
you.
the assistance of Dr. Wayne Grosco, got that started with a $2,500 grant.
Thank you. And Madonna.
Thank you. I'm going over in my mind what is meant by the word resilience. For me, resilience means going through tough times, getting back up again, falling down, getting back up again. I'm not sure a community has to have resilience and to fight climate change. There's no question. I personally have learned a lot about climate change in the last probably 8 years. And I did that because I was very much involved with our coastal community in Hulls Harbor. And I went to Acadia University to meet with the climate professor, Professor Glyn Bissex. I said, Glyn, I don't know a lot about, we need some attention here. We need to know, as volunteers, we're trying to put a climate adaptation plan in place, but we're all volunteers and we're not climate change experts. The experts are out there that can help the municipality, that can help communities. But the municipality has to be willing to accept what they have to say, to listen. For me, it's just like municipalities are on the front line of climate change. I think everybody knows that. We have to see these fires, we've seen floods. We had a massive flash flood in Hulls Harbor. It was because there was so much forestry cutting. The flood did not come from the tides. The flood came from the mountain because there was nothing there to stop the water from running. So we need to look at climate change from the perspective of people who know what they're talking about. I also was at the encampment in Burlington. Aerial spraying does so much damage. We have to be really careful when we're talking climate change. One thing I don't know, I want to say this, and this is very important, is that the framework, the financial framework for municipalities all across Canada has not changed since 1867. Queen Victoria. Anybody ever here remember her? You know, seriously? The FCM is working on a reform as we speak, and they're putting together a reform to look at the financial, the money sent down to municipal politics. Municipalities can't do it without all levels of government. It's too important.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I haven't had to get the hook out yet tonight, so that's why I wore this bright coat. They see me coming. Dave, over to you.
Thank you very much. My first approach would be the municipality should be encouraging people to have solar panels and that type of thing to lower the cost of power. And unfortunately, I'm going to take a different approach. That's just the opposite of what they're doing. If I turn around and put solar panels on my roof right now, Kings County is going to charge me for doing it, an extra tax. Now, that's not what I call progress in that area. I would suggest to you we should be an incentive for people to do that, for businesses to do that. I agree. I think Kings County has been doing a good job at getting their own facilities in order. But let's move it up one more step. And for the people in the country that want to put solar panels in, let's not make it more difficult, more expensive for them. The same way with windmills and that type of thing. The other thing that I would look at is I always thought that when you can turn $1 into $3 in collaboration with the provincial and federal government. So when you have a program to maybe support wind power or solar panels and that type of thing, if you can get the federal and the provincial government and turn your $1 million in Kings County into $3 million, it will take you a lot further. And it's been my experience that we were able to do that in the past, and that's where I would work to try and get the provincial and federal government on side to support us in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Pauline, you'll be first up with this question. How do you plan to foster collaboration between neighboring municipalities to address shared challenges like infrastructure, public services, and economic development, while ensuring that, daisy. Okay, so we're going to shorten the question. Here's the question. How do you plan to foster collaboration between neighboring municipalities to address shared challenges like infrastructure, public services, and economic development?
This is something that Kings County does relatively well with our towns, with Berwick, Kentfall, and Wolfville. We certainly have had some issues along the way. We've had court cases around things like educational funding that set things like intermunicipal service agreements back on their heels while that was sorted out. But generally, we have been making progress on the intermunicipal service agreements in a number of areas. In the economic development area, we all pay into the Valley Wren, and the province matches every dollar. To go back to what Dave was saying, this is something that happens quite frequently on all kinds of issues. If we can put something together, we can go to the province, we can go to the feds, and we can usually find significant help. In terms of further collaboration, I think that the new council, once it's in place, and the new council in Kentfall, Berwick, and Wolfville, it looks like there's going to be a lot of change. There's certainly going to be at least 3 new mayors. Kings County, Berwick, and Kentfall's mayors are not reoffering. So we will need to get our act together. We'll need to gel as quickly as we can and continue the work that we do on collaboration. I think we need to know each other a little bit better. There's going to be a lot of new councillors too. And that does set the work back a little bit until you get back into knowing the personalities and knowing how people work and what their style is. But nevertheless, I think we're going to do good work. And we will foster that at the municipality of the County of Kings, I believe, regardless of who the mayor is that you choose. It's so essential.
Thank you, Pauline. Madonna, on to you, please.
Would you mind repeating it?
My pleasure. It's shorter now, you know. How do you plan to foster collaboration between neighboring municipalities to address shared challenges like infrastructure, public services, and economic development?
I do believe that the cost sharing is done fairly well within the municipalities at the moment. I want to answer the question, but I think that there are things in place that we're doing that now. So let's look at it from a different perspective. Let's look at it from the rural perspective. Let's look at how we can help our communities get the infrastructure they need. I'm going to talk about the North Mountain. all the way from Cape Split to East Margarettsville. The North Mountain is a huge part of Kings County for economic development. Tourism is huge. Tourism is one of the biggest economic generators here in Kings County. I think what we need to do is talk to the communities, and I've spoken to a couple of people at Acadia University who's willing to do a study and talk to people on the North Mountain and say, hey, what's good for Harborville is good for Scotts Bay, is good for Halls Harbor, is good for Black Rock. On the North Mountain, this I think is really important to get this across, is that there's a lot of tourism activities, and the roads are out of this world. The roads are very, very, very bad. If indeed we had the North Mountain as a destination in Kings County, the North Mountain destination, we would have communities working together for their infrastructure and amenities and not fighting against each other to go get a grant that they can get. That's the reality of it right now. We will be learning things from Harborville, Burlington, Black Rock. That eastern end of the valley got it all together. They really do. And we can learn a lot on the other side from them. We really can. Cooperation, collaboration, and having that ambassador team is going to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Madonna. Dave, please.
Thank you. My previous 25 years on council, plus 11 years as mayor, I've sat on a lot of these boards with Valley Waste, Valley Regional Network, King's Transit. So I've had a lot of experience working with the other mayors and councilors from the other communities. We've had joint projects like built a soccer dome in our town that was supported with the county, a new library in the community, those type of things, working together. And that's the kind of collaboration that you need, and especially again when it comes to recreation facilities and that type of work. So I've had the experience working with the mayors and councils, and I go back to bringing in more dollars, like through the federal and provincial government, and by working together, that's how we can get those dollars. And it's been my experience that joint meetings of the councils and the mayors has always been a big asset. And I believe that we have, Kings County and the towns have done a great job. They really have. But I also believe they can do better. And I think some of the new people that are going to be elected are going to be on side, because this area has been recognized, I can tell you, for years, that we work together than many other parts of of Nova Scotia. There's some parts of the province that can't get two separate councils together for a meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Martha.
I think that the municipality of the County of Kings has been doing an excellent job in working with their towns in the municipal service agreements for King's Transit and Valley Waste and the Valley Wren. And we're leaving out the fact that a partner on Valley Waste and King's Transit is also the County of Annapolis. So we are working with our neighbor municipality county. And I think that it lays a foundation for anything else that should happen to come along, that we need that partnership. We have the history and we work well together. And I think it's something that we can build on in other ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madonna, we're going to start with you on this one. The community engagement strategy was removed from the MPS by the municipality in January 2023, shortly after a major planning decision by the municipality was challenged at the UARB. What are the views of the candidates regarding the removal of the CES from the MPS?
Thank you. Well, I probably feel the same way I do about the 94 lots, to be perfectly honest. I think, and I believe two of my candidates here were on council when they passed that land use bylaw. I think things just happened maybe too quickly. Perhaps we need to have another sober look at something and have a look and say, okay, let's go back. Things have changed again, you know? I lost my main point of the question.
That's all right. We're talking about the community engagement
Yes.
strategy
Okay.
and that removal.
I think one of the most important things we need in Kings County is a communication strategy. I know there is one. I looked at the policy. It's due to come up in 2005. Let's make that one count. I know there's people here who really believe in community collaboration as much as I do in communication. We need that in Kings County. I'm sorry, but I just think that some of the 2050 was rolled over and put into the land use bylaw, what parts they chose to do at the time. And I wasn't terribly happy about it, but I didn't have all the information as to why they made their decisions. And I hope I will have an opportunity to find all those reasons out when I become mayor, if I become mayor. But I do think that has got to be looked at. That land use planning strategy has got to be revisited. We got to come into the 20th century, folks. We have to. Things have changed. Priorities have changed. Are we our brother's keepers? Seriously, we're all responsible for each other. And the more we can do as a municipality to engage with our people, and yes, technology is great, and we do a lot of things online. We have a council online, blah blah blah. We have everything online, but sometimes people just want an old-fashioned chat. They want to talk to people, and we need to go to the communities and do that talking. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, over to you. Are you good on the question?
Pardon me?
You're good on the question?
Sure. Thank you. I think one of the biggest things when they come out with the 2050 plan, they whitewashed everything. It's either yes or it's no. And I think that has to be revisited. I think, your planning strategy does change from, after a period of time. And I think that we need to publicly engage this. I mean, there's a lot of, even, for example, agricultural zoning. Maybe that map should be revisited. Those are the type of things that you have to continue to work on. And I think currently, right now, the 2050 plan, just saying yes and just saying no is not the answer. I think that would be a big start for me to revisit that. I mean, obviously, you need public input, and you also need your other counselors and that type of thing. The mayor isn't the only person here. I can tell you, it's a large council, and there's a lot of good people coming that will be an asset to give you advice there. And if you don't have enough advice there from your council and from your mayor, then you got to bring in, and the public, you got to bring in the experts too. And so that's the way I would say you need to do. I think the whole thing has to be revisited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Martha?
As a current counselor, hoping to be mayor, I understand the concerns about community engagement, but in some respects, I wonder where it comes from, because every meeting that we have is open to the public, unless it's an in-camera meeting where we discuss contracts, legal, or personnel. Every meeting that we have has an opportunity for the public to come to the podium and speak. All of our planning applications have at least 3 meetings attached to them. Everything is online, so it can be watched. We have 9 counselors and a mayor right now that are incredibly engaged. I don't think in the 8 years that I've been on council, I've ever turned away a phone call or told someone that I couldn't help them. And I know that the counselors that are on council with me now believe and do the same. So I'm hoping that the next batch of counselors will do the same. You are the people we serve, and you should be able to come to us at any point and tell us what your problems are, your concerns, and we will take it to council, or we'll invite you to bring it to council. But the doors are always open and the mic is always there. And so we have community engagement. It's just a matter of taking advantage of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline, please.
Thank you. So I think we've gotten a little bit off topic maybe. The community engagement strategy was a document, a very well established document during the 2050 process. It was supposed to become part of how the municipality would do business going forward. And somewhere along the way, it got discounted or maybe lost. It didn't show up in the way that it should have in what we did with the MPS or the LUB. There's a reference to it, but it's not there. It's not integrated. And now I think what people are saying is that their experience is that community engagement is a little too late and not enough. What ends up happening is things are brought to people, particularly around development issues, by way of a public hearing and a public information meeting, then a public hearing. But by the time it gets to either one of those things, the whole project is quite well developed. And people felt that they wanted to be engaged much earlier in the process. And that was the whole point of the community engagement strategy, the LOST strategy. And so I think we do need to go back and say, what can we do about that? The other thing that council said when they were challenged about this very recently, they asked staff, well, where did it go and what can we do about it? And the staff's response was that the provincial government, under the Municipal Government Act, were looking at how community engagement was going to occur. And that they would look at it then, they would have to do what the Municipal Government Act said, and if there was anything else they could do, then maybe they'd reach back and do something else. But that wasn't what people were asking. People were asking, where is our community engagement strategy that was brought before council and that wasn't exactly approved, apparently?
Thank you.
It was said that it would go into the documents that were forthcoming.
Thank you. Okay, Madonna. Wow, we're just going through those rotations so quickly. The Annapolis Valley has some of the richest farmland in Canada. Where do you stand on the protection of this valuable resource versus development of farmland?
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier, I served on municipal council for 14 years. It gave me a huge respect for the significance of preserving and protecting our farmlands. I fully recognize how critical it is to our community and our local economy. As you know, right now, the province of Nova Scotia has a statement of interest with reference to utilizing agricultural land. The province oversees any action this county would take on the use of agricultural land. Given the challenges that we face today, I believe it's essential for us to thoroughly review that statement of interest from the province of Nova Scotia, particularly in light of the concerns surrounding zoning and the current housing crisis. I've had a lot of questions on the doorstep. So are you in favor of building on agricultural land or not? To me, it's not a yes or no answer. Should farmers be allowed to develop a lot within a specific criteria for one of their children who are coming home to help on the farm? It's not a yes or no answer. Should we access Kings County soil maps currently in existence to ensure that areas that are not suitable for farming are appropriately categorized according to the Nova Scotia provincial statement? Should policy restricting the 94 lots be reviewed? I talked about that earlier. Those questions don't lend to a yes or no. My goal as mayor will be to encourage a more transparent and collective approach to that zoning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dave, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I am very, very supportive of maintaining farmland that is in use and in production. I worked on farms many, many years when I was a youth, and I ran the Outstanding Young Farmer program for all Atlantic Canada and nominated people like Allison Woodworth, who went on to be recognized as one of the top farmers in all of Canada. So I'm well aware of how important farmland is to this area. However, there is some farmland that has never been used for farming for maybe over 50 years and may not be used for ever. That is maybe rocky and unused in its zone. So I think that the agricultural map has to be revisited, and there has to be a little bit of flexibility in some of these lots that maybe are 2-acre lots that are rocky and wet and can't be built on. And let's give the farmers a little credit too, the ones that want to retire on the farm and give the farm, the big farm home to the children, and would like to build a retirement home in maybe one corner of their farm. And they're not going to build a home right in the middle of a big, beautiful field. They're going to respect that. They're going to want to make sure that the farm continues to be in existence. So, but when you have farmland and excellent farmland that is in production, I think we have to certainly maintain that and protect that. But if it's not being used, hasn't been used, and doesn't plan on being used, I think we have to look at it and be a little bit of flexibility. There's no flexibility right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Martha, please.
Thank you. For me, A1 land is A1 land, and it should stay A1 land. I don't like it when I hear A1 land in production, because as Dave says, there is land out there that is not in production, but that doesn't mean it can't be in production. It doesn't mean that there won't be people that come along and maybe want to farm that land or raise cattle on that land or horses or sheep or whatever may come their way. I think that our A1 land is our ticket to not being food insecure in the Annapolis Valley. And I understand the predicament that farmers are in when they want to build their retirement home and things like that. And maybe that's something that could be looked at on a case-by-case basis. But as far as A1 land as it sits right now, I'm in favor of leaving it A1 land. And I do believe that the provincial statement of interest on agriculture will hold that to true. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Pauline, please.
The current housing crisis has little to do with the inability to develop homes in the A1 zone. The current housing crisis will not be solved by allowing people to develop homes in the A1 zone. Martha is absolutely correct, I believe, in saying that the A1 zone is the A1 zone, and just because something isn't farmed right now, it doesn't mean that it can't be farmed in the future. You can destroy A1 land in a year by building on it, by paving it over. It takes thousands of years to develop a piece of A1 land. That's how long it takes for soils that might be a little bit rocky to become more fertile and ready for development as farmland. Our whole valley floor has agricultural potential, yet we've built right down the middle. Up on the North Mountain and South Mountain, the land isn't as great, and that's where we've got the mixed use agricultural zone and ability to build homes in that area. We're not short of places to build homes in this valley. We have 12 areas that are urban. We've got 7 villages and lots of growth centers. That's where the homes need to go. We need to build denser homes. That's how to solve this. In terms of what farmers can do with their own land and their own family members coming home, you can now take a home that's in that zone and you can make it into a duplex. You can add on, you can expand. It's just that we're not wanting people to take a plot of land and place another house on it. There are solutions. It's not a yes, no kind of situation as it's being described at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, we're going to start with you on this one. What is your position on a regional recreation facility?
Great question. You already answered that? Oh, well, you can answer for me then if you like. I believe you need recreation. I've been a great recreation supporter, but you have to study, and before you enter into a $60 million, $100 million facility. I can tell you there's good news stories like in Bridgewater, but there's also stories like in Truro. My buddy, the mayor of Truro, I talked to a month or so ago. They are still in a 10-year lawsuit over the building of their facility in Truro. It costs them about $1 million a year for maintenance of that facility. So, you know, if you need a swimming pool, that's one thing. Or if you need a nice surface, that's another thing. You need to collaborate with the other municipalities. You need to collaborate with the business community, and you need to study it. And if the money is there. But let's face it, folks, in Berwick, they got a great facility out there, but they raised money for almost 20 years. And so it's a situation that there's nobody in this room that's any more for recreation than what I am. But I can tell you, the last thing you want to do is you're talking about higher taxes and so on and so forth, is get stuck with something that's maybe 60 or $100 million and find out that you've made a mistake. So I would be in favor of a recreation facility after it's studied that we can well afford it, and it's certainly needed. But I'm more in favor of, if you need a swimming pool, then work with maybe an area to construct a swimming pool with maybe another municipality or that type of thing. Same thing with a nice surface. But just to go willy-nilly and build a facility, no, I think it's not a good idea. They're closing YMCA's all over America.
Thanks so much. Martha, you get to go at this again.
Well, as I already said, I wasn't in favor of a recreation facility. And I have some counselors on the council with me now who are the other end of the spectrum. And I respect what they say, and I understand why they say it and why they want it. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to build it. It's a lot of money to maintain it. And in a municipality with the square miles that Kings has, where do you put a facility that is easily accessible to everyone who lives here? Because you've got people down in Hants Border, or you've got people down in Kingston Greenwood. Where do you put a facility that's easy for them to come and use, that it's not a 40-minute drive to bring their kids for a swimming lesson? So I just the logistics of it just don't seem to work for me. The amount of money doesn't seem to work for me. So I guess I'd have to be convinced. At this point, I'm a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Pauline?
Well, it was costed in March, I think, of 2023, Martha, and the number then was 58 million. And we know with each year of delay, that number is going to grow, whether we go ahead or not. We know that this isn't going to be something cheap. In July of the same year, we saw floods in HRM and Hants and infrastructure failures that led to deaths. This July, we saw an infrastructure failure in Wolfville and another tragic death. I will encourage our new council to first determine if crucial infrastructure updates needed are fully costed and covered before embarking on a large capital project, which will add large long-term operational costs. Other questions that must be answered before we would move forward are all municipalities in Keens willing participants and committed to paying for capital and operational costs? I hear they're not. And would user fees make it affordable to average families if we did have it? Usage fees are high. The question of whether to build a regional recreation centre is an ideal topic to address within a zero budget or participatory budget exercise. In other words, if we started from nothing, what would we keep and what would we ditch and what would we add? I would want to see council assess our halls, parks, trails, where much of the recreation activities that we currently have occur. I'd want to see consideration given to many non-provincial beaches visited by tourists and by ourselves, day trippers. They don't have washroom facilities. They don't have garbage disposal bins. So we need to review also our active transportation goals to answer the question of how we can bring active transportation opportunities to communities beyond the Harvest Moon Trail. In summary, I'm saying there's lots of things that we can do for recreation. There's lots of assets, but I'm not saying that a new aquatic center is impossible. I am saying that building it needs a lot of very careful consideration regarding the affordability of it at this time, and the fact that we haven't really been able to afford the recreation things that we currently have in a way that everyone can use them.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Madonna?
Thank you. I sit here and think, who in their right mind would even pose that question? Why would we need a huge facility in Kings County for recreation? We have CFB Greenwood, we have Acadia University, we have the Apple Dome, which the municipality has put quite a lot of dollars in. There's lots of activity here. What we need to be looking at, and I tend to agree with my partner on the left, on the left, yes.
Yeah, really on the
left. Is that let's look at what we have first. Let's take care of what we have first before we go at this wish for something big. If you were in your own home, you wouldn't be looking at something like that. Climate change, folks, is the biggest issue we're ever going to have in this county in the next 4 years. We're going to have floods in all our coastal communities. The dikelands alone need to be looked at and need to be raised or whatever is absolutely necessary. Our villages could be underwater, and that's not being alarmist. That's being realistic. Climate change. Believe me, Kings County says climate change, and they talk about solar panels and they talk about solar in Meadowview. I mean, that's not going to happen for probably 3, 4, 5 years. I've spoken to people who are looking at that solar panel in Meadowview. The community's not overly thrilled about it. The signatures are not on the paper yet. They don't even know what's going to happen there. I firmly believe you take care of what you have with what you have. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more. Okay. And we are going to start with Dave. Okay. What do you see as the biggest issue facing our public transportation system, and how can we address it?
I think one of the biggest issue with the public transportation currently is that it doesn't go as often or at times when people really need it. It's a situation that if you're looking to get to work, it might take you 2 hours, and so that's really impractical. Sometimes during when there's a holiday, that the buses don't go, and then but other small businesses through Kings County still actually are open, and their employees can't get to work. I know a lot of the groups that that go to the flower cart and that type of thing. They certainly need the transportation, and I wonder too if maybe we can look at a little more practical bus and have it more often, maybe a smaller bus that actually goes into more locations or is out there more often, because many times you see the great big buses and they're not not anywhere near full. So that's an area that I think that we have to look at. But again, it goes back to, and I want to remind you, your mayor isn't necessarily an expert. That's where you need to have the expert advice on areas like of transportation. Your other counselors will be an asset, the public and your staff, because it's an area that I think could be improved on. And we're very fortunate to have something like King's Transit in this area, but I think we can make lots of improvements there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Martha?
Thank you. I think the biggest thing for me as far as transit goes is that right now, King's Transit operates on Highway 1, a couple of little deviations around Greenwood and possibly into Kentville and Berwick and things like that. But people who live in Canning, Port Williams, up by Highway 101 in New Minas, there's a lot of houses and stuff like that, and people can't get down to where the bus goes. So it would be nice to have smaller buses running into those areas and bringing them at least down to the main transportation corridor, so that people don't have to live right on Highway 1 to be able to access King's Transit. I think we need to have something bringing them into Highway 1 so that they can access King's Transit and be able to use it on a much, much greater scale. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline?
Yes, just a little correction. King's Transit does go to Port Williams. It doesn't go to Canning. Yes, there are big buses and sometimes they're empty, but those big buses are really full when it is the rush hours for getting to work. They're full in the morning, they're full in the evening for the commute back home. And therefore, you kind of need big buses, or you need several small ones, and then you need more bus drivers. So it's a real balancing act. Once you get into smaller transportation, then you need more staff. And it's very difficult to find bus drivers now. You will see that with the school bus drivers and with King's Transit. There isn't a big supply of drivers. But we do need public transportation. For some people, it's their only way to get to important appointments and to get to work, and to get their kids to daycare, et cetera, et cetera. We could be looking at other ways of moving people around, though. We could be doing car shares, for example, and subsidizing those as a municipality, because we do subsidize King's Transit to a very large extent. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the bottom line is it isn't the people that are buying the bus tickets that are really paying for the bus. It's all of us as taxpayers. So I think that we do need to do a deep dive into that and see if there's a better way of spending those dollars that might get people where they need to go in better timing and with less expense to the environment. There's also the whole thing about active transportation. If people do want to use a bike or an electric bike to get around, our transportation routes aren't well designed for that. We do have the Harvest Moon Trail, and it is used for people getting back and forth to work, as long as you live in the corridor and as long as you can find a good route to go from the Harvest Moon to where you need to be, maybe on Route 1. So we've got to do a complete analysis. I don't think that we can focus it only on King's Transit. We need to look at other methods of getting people around, and we particularly need to look at active transportation.
Thank you. Madonna.
I think we have to remember again that we live in a rural area. I think King's Transit is a very important asset that we have in Kings County. However, we have people who live on the mountain. We have people who live in Gaspereau. We have people who live in Avonport. We have people who live East Margarettsville. We have people that live in areas where King's Transit does not go. There may be ways, and once again, with our community ambassadors and talking to the people in the communities, maybe there's a job opportunity for somebody. Maybe there's a job opportunity for somebody that wants to provide transportation in the valley area, come off the mountain. There's a lot of seniors on the mountain. I know I'm talking a lot about the mountain because I happen to know a lot about it because I live there. And I do know that the issue of transportation is fairly well looked after on the valley floor. So don't get me wrong. I'm not just for the North and South Mountain. I'm for the entire valley. But I think our mind sometimes goes off into who we are. Not everybody wants to live in a subdivision. That's their choice. However, looking at it from a positive perspective, I really think that the transportation in Kings County could be set up in a different way that would provide jobs, help communities, and one of the things that I don't know about King's Transit or not, and I should, but I don't know whether seniors travel free. I would hope they do. I don't know if students travel free. I would hope they do. So we have to look at if we're having transportation for people who really need it, and we're subsidizing it, their 25 cents or $2 is not going to pay the bills. But if it will help them move around their community and to get out and socialize and have some interaction with people, I think is a good thing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Martha, did I give you a chance to answer that question? I did, right? Okay, double checking. You can tell I've been standing for a while now. Okay, so we're at the point where we're actually going to invite our candidates to, we're going to give you 3 minutes and we're going to ask you for your closing remarks. And I believe we are going to start with Martha. No, am I with Dave? Oh, you know what? You're off the hook.
Oh, okay.
See, me getting tired. Here we go. Dave, we're going to start with you.
Okay, thank you. If elected your mayor, I commit to providing you with the insights you need to hear, even if they differ from what you might want to hear. I encourage you not to be swayed by unrealistic promises. I believe Kings County is ready for change. We must cultivate a can-do attitude and work to shed the perception of being the can't-do county. I will lead this transformation while firmly opposing new taxes. In fact, during my previous tenure as mayor, I've successfully reduced taxes at one point. I will maintain an open door policy and will be an active presence at community events and gatherings. My commitment to strengthening ties with Michelin, Camp Aldershot, 14 Wing Greenwood, Valley Regional Hospital, the agricultural industry, the business community, and other vital organizations within our county remains steadfast. I am dedicated to tirelessly collaborating with the federal, provincial, as well as the villages and our municipal partners for the benefit of all residents of Kings County from one end of the county to the other. That's why I'm often referred to as the everywhere man. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Dave Corkum.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to you. Madonna, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
3 minutes? Thank you. Why would you want to vote for me? I have no idea. But I really don't, because all of us are here. We're all here for the right reasons. I'd like to think that I'm offering you something that's maybe a little different, a little more experienced. And I've been there and I've done that. I've been to many meetings. I've chaired many meetings. I've fought with the best of them. We didn't wait when I was on council for the province to come and do something. We in the county, people got together and sat down at kitchen tables and said, this is how it should be done. This is how we want our regional economic development agency run. The province was going to put a plan in place, but we sat down. I was one of the ones of the we's that sat down, and we put a process in place that the province took and spread all across Nova Scotia. So I'm the type of person that gets things done. My father was a hard worker. He worked at the steel plant in Sydney for over 40 years. Never missed a day's work. Always drove into our heads. If you start something, you finish it. Do it right. I want to be your mayor. I know I can lead Kings County into the 21st century. We have so much here already. We just need to tweak it here and there, get more people involved. I want to take this journey, and I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you if you will come on this journey with me. If in October you'll vote Madonna Spinazzola for mayor, I won't let you down, and I'll get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Madonna. Pauline, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you. So in closing, I have remarks specifically for councillor candidates who are with us tonight. On October 19th, I have faith, regardless of who succeeds, that you will arrive with a broad set of experiences and different useful backgrounds. If I'm chosen as your mayor, my first job will be to have us gel. A well-rounded, collaborative team, that will be us. Between election day and being sworn in, I'll meet with you. We will learn about each other and from one another and set a course to work effectively as a team. We'll be equals. We will have a head start. To everyone in this room, you know Kings County has many things to do, big concerns to address. As mayor, I will promote a zero-based budget process to help council take deeper dives into our budget and our programs. But it will be through all of our work that we will set a budget where taxpayers will get the best bang for their buck. We'll amend the land use bylaw so communities are not at odds with developers, so hammers will swing and the gap between supply and demand for affordable homes will shrink. It will be through our work that we'll integrate the well-honed community engagement strategy into our work, a strategy the current council has set aside. We'll create ways to protect us from the impacts of climate change. We'll make a definitive decision about that deed transfer tax, as well as the issue of building a recreation centre, a topic the current council has left us to decide in January of 2025. Everyone in this room has every right to expect that council will get down to real work and get down to it soon. If you elect a mayor who will be fully present, work hard and work smart, that's the first crucial step. I think I am that mayor. To be blunt, the new mayor's salary sets in at above 85,000, councillors close to 50,000, and a CPI adjustment may make these amounts even more. These salaries need to be earned. Under my leadership, our genuine drive to collaborate with our constituents and each other will add value. We'll draw a broad base of residents towards our work to increase our capacity to get things done and get it done right. We will always be looking for ways for Kings to be better, to be much better. I am asking King County voters to choose me as their next mayor. We have all heard politicians promise at election time. We've seen party platforms that amount to nothing after election time. I am not that kind of person. What I can promise is at the end of the 4-year term, we will be able to say we have used our best assets, our people, our optimism, our highly trained staff, and our community and business organizations to create a much better Kings County than when council sat in November 2024.
Thank you, Pauline. And Martha, you have the honor of wrapping things up.
And the honor of being the only one with no notes. I have enjoyed and worked very hard for the last 8 years. And I think that I am poised to be a good mayor. I see myself not as a leader necessarily. I want to bring a cool head, a calm voice, and a collaborative effort to bring a council that works well together, that makes the priorities of Kings County their number one job. We need to have a council that works well together. And I think I can bring that to fruition. So I have plans. I want to make Kings the best because I want it to be the best for my kids, for my grandkids, for your kids and grandkids. And I think I can do a good job for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to congratulate the four of you, and I want to thank you. Not only have you shared your thoughts and some of those things that are important to you, but you've put yourself out there for the service of our greater community. So that, that's not an easy job. So I congratulate all of you for being willing to do that. I want to thank you all. You've been fantastic. I didn't have to, throw anything or, even, darted looks or anything like that. So you've been wonderful. I appreciate you. Last thing, I want to thank the Chamber. I want to thank the Association of Realtors for their sponsorship and all of the other Chamber champion folks who've made tonight possible. And my last ask of you is if you can grab a couple chairs. Nyla's giving me the, please ask them to grab a couple chairs. Stack a few chairs before you go. That would be awesome. If you can't, no worries. Have a great night. Travel safe.